Warning. The following podcast is utter nonsense and may cause agoraphobia, kleptomania, insomnia, and oppositional defiance disorder. We are required by law to provide you with this disclaimer for hazardous materials.
Welcome back to Hazardous Materials, and tonight we're going to talk Godzilla. I'm Casey Johnson, with me as always,
Gideon Gonzalez.
And we're going to get right into it.
Yeah, so we're going to be splitting this one in half, where Casey talks about the beloved Godzilla Marvel book from the 70s, and then I'm going to talk about a couple of my favorite modern favorites. So, Casey?
Yeah, Godzilla from the 70s. This is some of the stuff that I used to pick up as a kid. Okay, so check this out. Marvel basically went after Toho's license to get the Godzilla things right around 1971. Toho wasn't having it. It's like, no. We're cool with what we're going on. You're going to have to find somewhere else. We're not really interested. So 5 years down the line, Archie Goodwin and Stan Lee is like, no, we got to have this. We got to have this Godzilla.
Want that big lizard.
We got to get that lizard. We got to get that lizard. Make it happen, Archie. And Archie made it happen. In 1976, Toho finally said, you know what? We want to try this whole comics thing. Do your thing.
Looks like this comics thing is sticking around.
Yeah, this comics thing is apparently not fed. And we're turning New Yorkers here.
See, I like your New York Toho.
You like that?
People.
My New York Toho. Make that cut, make that Archie. So it's really cool because the one of the second pages of the first issue is Archie Goodwin, the guy who is putting the whole thing together, and he's actually really candid about all the stuff that they had to do to get Godzilla and make it happen.
And that's in the foreword to the Essential Edition, right?
No. This is not
the actual comic.
This is the actual comic, and back in 1976. And it's like, this is surprisingly transparent. For Marvel back in those years. But yeah, he not only did he talk about the fact that they spent 5 years trying to get this stuff and try to make it happen, they also talked about the fact that we have to change the way it looks, to make it our own. And we know a lot of your purists are going to have your problems with it, maybe, but we got to have our particular look with this. This creature to make it our own.
Yeah.
And
the Marvel Godzilla.
And we have decided to integrate it into the Marvel universe, but you'll find that it interacts very sparingly with the Marvel universe.
Which would become less and less true as the book went on.
Yeah, it really will, because we get the Champions of Los Angeles, we get the Fantastic Four, and at the very last two issues, it's just the
whole Avengers.
Full Avengers Fantastic Four fight. This has been one of those rare books where it's very clear that a beginning and a middle and an end. Yeah. Marvel knew what it was doing. It made 24 issues, and
I think
it was just one gigantic arc.
Yeah.
24-issue arc.
I think both Doug Munch and Herb Trimpe did all 24 of them.
Yes, all 24. The art is consistent, same writer. I can't remember the guys. He had a really strange name.
Doug Munch?
There you go.
Yeah, Moon Knight guy.
The Moon Knight guy. Mm-hmm. I'll be damned. Okay. So the real premise of this is it's Godzilla doing world tour on American soil.
It's a hoot.
Yeah, I mean, they take into account that the 1959 Godzilla raid on Tokyo happened. Mm-hmm. And now it's like 1977, and Godzilla is up out of the water, and he's in Alaska. He makes his way from Alaska through Seattle to San Francisco to Las Vegas, up into Salt Lake City, and then makes the big jump to New York.
Yeah, he just goes from coast to coast.
Yeah, and it's S.H.I.E.L.D.'s fault. Look, I should also preface the fact that even though Godzilla is a Marvel book, and right off the bat they said we're going to try to keep it kind of separate from the Marvel universe, but it's still going to dip in here or there. There's a S.H.I.E.L.D. presence in every single issue because it's basically it's a chase movie. Yeah.
I feel like Transformers did a better job of being winkingly in the Marvel universe.
Yeah.
The only crossover I can really think of was Spidey showing up in number 3.
Yeah. Oh, and that's the funny thing is about Spidey. He's the last hero showing up in the whole spectrum. The last 2 pages of issue 24 is Spidey showing up going, man, did I miss something? Well, at least I got some pictures for J. Jonah Jameson, and that's it.
Speaking of, one of my favorite pages of this whole run is the J. Jonah Jameson leaning out his window and berating Godzilla.
Yes, actually, I grabbed a picture of that.
So good.
It's so great because he's talking to him, and Godzilla breathes into his office and just blows everything out. And so, like, the next time you see J. Jonah Jameson, which is like 3 pages later, he's all disheveled and screwed up from the air blast. This was surprisingly entertaining. Although pretty basic. Most of the issues are, Godzilla wrecks this, and this is exploding, and Dum Dum Dugan, who's got his own helicarrier, by the way, with Gabe Jones, is chasing this. And about halfway through this series, they get a special helicarrier called the Behemoth. It's this massive frickin' armored helicarrier. It's like the biggest one ever. And then you find out why. Because it's got to be big enough to take Godzilla in when they capture him, which they do. Spoiler alert. I told you at the very beginning of this, all 24 issues really do feel like one giant arc. There's no beat or break like you normally have in comics. Where they'll have like 3 or 4 issues. Okay, that's a story. We're going to have a filler issue, and then we're going to go into our next story.
Yeah, it's basically just
straight
Godzilla going, again, from coast to coast. He has a very clear path. Like, you're starting on the west, and you're ending up in New York, where all the other heroes are. And so because of that, you get, like, a kind of steady buildup of threats to Godzilla. Like, what's his name? Red Ronin show up at one point?
Red Ronin shows up right after the Dr. Demonicus arc.
There we go.
Dr. Demonicus is basically he's a Marvel villain. He shows up in Marvel. He's basically Dr. Doom. Mm-hmm. But he's super evil. He finds this Inuit family, and he's like, "You're gonna do this for me, or you're gonna pay." And he's like, "I'm not gonna do that for you." He's like, "Well, then your family will pay." And he kills their family off screen, of course.
Mm-hmm. Of course.
Yeah. So he's the bringer of the first big monster you see, which happens, I think, in issue 3 or 4. And then after that, it's Dr. Demonicus. This is bringing ugly freaking things up at all over the place. But, Godzilla doesn't actually get violent with his opponent until like the 17th issue, where crap like this happens, where he's like, this is flying hippopotamus kind of thing coming at him, and he shoots his fire right into the thing's open mouth, and it comes out its back end. And then 2 pages later, he grabs the creature with the big helicopter blades for his tail, and he mashes them together so his helicopter cuts his head off. It was like, Godzilla got metal in issue 17.
Yeah, Herb Trimpe went off.
This is the only time that he really got violent and murdered his enemies.
I will say, he does get to some pretty sweet wrestling moves. When I think I'd say it's been a long time since I read this, but I think it's around probably the last 3/4 of the book when S.H.I.E.L.D. finally calls in Hank Pym, who's just like, "Yeah, I got this," and just like shoots Godzilla with his Yellow Jacket gun and shrinks him down. He's like, "There you go."
Is the best issue of the entire series is Mini Godzilla in New York.
Yeah.
And he goes up against his greatest opponent, the New York City Rat. This is a great issue.
Pizza Rat v. Godzilla.
And it's not just a one-off. He goes 2 issues in mini-sized, and then he's slowly getting bigger.
Because his radiation's burning through the Pym particles.
Yeah, because that's the answer for everything.
Yeah. Radiation.
There's a Yeti creature called the Yetragar. And he's basically like a Bigfoot, but radiation turns him into 100-foot tall.
A big Bigfoot.
And
large foot.
Yeah, and then he gets a big old 3-way fight with him, Red Ronin, and Godzilla in the Grand Canyon.
Yeah, I remember that issue. That was a lot of fun.
I gotta tell you, I love the road trip feel of this Godzilla series.
And even then, once it gets to New York, it's just like he's just fighting the whole Marvel universe.
Yeah.
Because my personal favorite issue, I'm a big Benjamin J. Grimm fan.
Yes.
Is when he is in the Museum of Natural History as a people-sized Godzilla, wrestling with Ben Grimm, knocking over dinosaur skeletons, blasting artifacts with atomic breath. It's a hoot. I love it.
And just when you think you've got everything covered, I can't I can't emphasize what a blast this weird 70s disco dragon is. But you've got mini Godzilla. You've got man-sized Godzilla getting into fistfights with Dum Dum Dugan and the Thing. But then you've got back-in-time Godzilla who teams up with Devil Dinosaur. That's the stuff right there.
It is pure. It is Marvel Godzilla in exactly the way you want it to be Marvel Godzilla.
It is. This book is so insane.
Like, you got two Marvel-ass creators like Doug Munch and Herb Trimp. You got pretty much the entire pantheon of characters. Like, I don't think the X-Men show up.
No, X-Men do not show up.
Yeah, which is, I think, the only glaring omission.
No, it's Fantastic Four, Champions of Los Angeles. Which, if you don't know who the champions are, trust me, you're not missing anything. Back in the '70s, this one-off team of Hercules, Black Widow, Ghost Rider, Dark Star, Angel, and Iceman.
But why are they all together?
Who knows?
They were the leftovers.
But only like a few of the champions show up. Ghost Rider and Dark Star are not there. And just when they're about to explain why they're not there, we don't care. We got to go get this lizard.
I think it's because Ghost Rider versus Godzilla would be a fair fight.
Yeah.
They're the two most powerful members.
You know, I hate to jump to the end, you know, especially after talking about the fact that he does team up with Devil Dinosaur. And they get in this big old gatefold battle royale with this tribe that's trying to kill Moon Boy's tribe. But of course, you know, we got to bring back Godzilla. So something happened with Reed Richards' gear that when he sent him back, the radiation is corrupting his the mechanics of whatever it is. It's like, it's building. The only way we could stop it is reversing it, which means bringing back Godzilla. Yeah. So they throw out the thing. Godzilla comes back, and that happens. And then, you know, Spider-Man shows up, and then the whole thing is wrapped up by the scientist's grandson just telling Godzilla, just leave. Just go far away.
Get out of here.
And he leaves, and that's it. That's the end of issue 24.
He's a respectable animal.
It's just Finn on the back, and there's not even an explanation of like, hey, this is the last issue. Although if you see the cover of here 24, you see it's clearly the last issue because you got, you know, Godzilla walking off into the distance. This book is available. Strangely enough, even though Marvel is not really big on reprinting stuff they don't have licenses on, you're not going to find an Essentials ROM Space Knight.
Yeah,
it's just not going to happen. But in 2006, they did make an Essentials Godzilla. I was lucky enough to pick it up, and I didn't realize that was a big deal because now it's selling for like $90 to $150.
Yeah, it's the only time it's ever been reprinted.
Yeah.
It's the most convenient way to read it, even if it is in black and white, because it's not available digitally anywhere. Like, and this is kind of what became a long-term problem with Marvel's licensed work after the fact is that because they would have appearances from Marvel characters, later people who pick up the license can't reprint that stuff because of the presence of Marvel characters. Larry Hama's G.I. Joe didn't run into that issue because that one completely divorced from the Marvel Universe.
I really love how that discontinued completely into IDW stuff.
Transformers, I'm not 100% sure if IDW was ever able to reprint number 3. I would assume not, but I haven't done my full research on that.
You're talking about the Spider-Man appearance?
Exactly, yeah. Spidey versus Megatron.
There's some horrible coloring issues with the original.
Oh, yeah. When all the robots mostly look the same and you can only differentiate them by color, it's great when the coloring isn't consistent.
You can tell when the colorist is really lacking on the job there.
I mean, in his defense, he was coloring ads.
Yeah, I mean, coloring newsprint back in the 80s was not an easy feat, especially when you had multicolored Autobots and color really mattered. But let's make it purple.
But yeah, it is a shame that this is not an easier book to read because tracking down the single sucks. I've tried to and then given up. Their singles are pretty not like insanely expensive, but
you can get yourself a stack of ratty comics.
Exactly.
And you'll probably get like a couple of Godzillas thrown in there. That's actually how I really got into comics, is because my folks would take me to these antique shows, not like stores or anything, but like shows. And there'll just be row and row of just people's old junk. and there would always be at least 2 or 3 people with a big old stack of 70s Marvel comics, and that's how I got into it.
Nice.
That's how I found out about White Tiger from Spider-Man, how I found out about Ghost Rider and Godzilla, Shogun Warriors, all that stuff.
All the good stuff.
All the really good stuff. God, one of these days we need to talk about the Shogun Warriors. If that's not periphery to what we're talking about now, I don't know what is.
So yeah, if you can track it down and at a good price, do pick up those Godzillas. Not that I would never, ever, ever encourage piracy. But if they don't make it available...
What choice do you got? But hey, we're not saying do that.
We didn't endorse. So while there were some great crossovers in Godzilla's Marvel run, his greatest one, of course, came in the early 90s from Dark Horse Comics, in which Godzilla met Earth's greatest warrior, Sir Charles Barkley. This was part of a big, I think it was Nike was doing this campaign ad, where it was, they had commercials of Barkley playing against Godzilla. And you've probably seen the gif of Godzilla, like, putting on some goggles before he goes to ball.
Then Art Adams did some great covers of those commercials.
This was a one-shot with a cover by the incomparable Dave Dorbin. You might know his work from the Indiana Jones posters, Back to the Future, Star Wars.
The classic painted covers of yore.
So, of course, Barkley blocking an atomic blast with a basketball is just another iconic image like
Somebody spent some money on that one.
It's amazing. You know this is going to be a good comic when, right off the bat, it's an Alan Smithy joint.
Oh, God,
Alan
really?
Smithy is the credit for the plot. With Jeff Butler, whose work I'm not typically familiar with, but I really enjoy his work here. He does a good job with the likenesses, including what appears to be a tiny Mike Tyson in the opening crowd. Don't know what's up with that, but I love it.
Oh, my God, you sent me a picture of
I
this
did.
thing.
So the premise of the book is there's a kid who wants to go see Barkley because he's like shooting hoops and like for a commercial, but he can't get through. And his grandpa's like, "Oh, I'll give you my lucky coin. Like it always did me good." And so the kid sees in the distance the Godzilla's coming.
Of course.
So he's like, "Barkley, you gotta stop him." And Barkley's like, "Well, what's in it for me?" And the kid flips him his lucky coin. Barkley catches it, grows to Godzilla size, and then he's like, I know a baller when I see one. So he lures Godzilla out to a military base and turns a big satellite dish into a hoop.
That line alone has sold me.
And
I know a baller when I see one.
And they have a pickup game. And, like, Godzilla's got the moves. Like, he's moving around. He fouls him with his tail at one point, which Barkley goes, "See, that's how I know you're a pro."
If you're going to foul somebody, do it on purpose.
Exactly. And it ultimately ends with Godzilla atomic blasting the ball when Barkley scores on him. So Barkley berates him for his poor sportsmanship.
Yes.
Takes him out to the Grand Canyon, sets up a hoop, hooks him up with some size 13,000 Nikes.
Now, if I remember right, Art Adams did this image of them doing a b-ball in the Grand Canyon. I don't know if it was like a pinup.
He might have done one because he didn't do it in the book.
If I'm right and it exists, it's on the screen right
and
here.
if you're wrong, we'll just cut it out.
Then I'm just going to, we're just going to edit this part out so I don't look like an idiot.
But so the most important part is he says, "All right, you got your size 13,000 Triple E Nikes. You got your hoop. You're just going to do 1 million layups." And we get the iconic panel, which you've probably seen a million times on the internet, of Godzilla doing a layup with the caption, "Godzilla got busy." And that's the greatest Godzilla crossover of all time. No offense to the Avengers. No shade on Red Ronin. This is what it's about.
You know, it makes me want for the crazy crossovers of the late 90s, early double odds. I want Archie Godzilla, you know? The weird stuff. I think Archie Godzilla would have been more plausible than Archie Punisher.
I was briefly deceived by a fan-made cover. It's one of the best things I've ever seen it's Godzilla versus Barkley 2, and it's got the modern style Godzilla, his little head and his big chunky body. Barkley's in his ESPN suit, like trying to block him. And he says, "Man, you got bigger since I last saw you, Godzilla." And one of his co-hosts, I don't remember who, was saying, "Bigger than San Antonio women, Chuck?"
Oh.
Which, if y'all don't know, as a San Antonian, this is well-founded as Charles Barkley's rivalry with the women of our city.
Yes.
Made a comment about double fist and churros once.
Very unkind to our town here.
But I forgive Sir Charles, because how could you not?
He's royalty.
He is. He's royalty.
We all know this.
Yeah. So greatest to ever do it.
What else you got for us?
All joking aside, my actual favorite Godzilla story of all time, even including the movies, is James Stokoe's masterpiece, The Half-Century War.
Why is it called that?
Because it tracks the experiences of a soldier who is there at 1954 when Godzilla first attacks Tokyo and encounters him multiple times up through 2002.
That makes sense.
So he basically, it's about Lieutenant Oda Murakami, who is one of the Japanese soldiers who is like sent out for a natural disaster that turns out to be Godzilla. And after that initial encounter, he gets recruited to a new special kaiju task force for being one of the few people to have encountered Godzilla and lived.
Yes.
And it just kind of tracks like his arc throughout history with Godzilla. Like this first issue, again, is in 54. The second one takes place in 67 and is set in Vietnam, where in the middle of the war, Godzilla shows up. And they find out he was going after... I'm blank. Is it Anguirus, the villain from the second Godzilla movie? Godzilla Smashes Again? But it's a big spiky-looking turtle that for a second I thought was Gamera, but I had to Google it and make sure. I was like, that couldn't be Gamera.
It's not Gamera.
It's like Anguirus or something.
Yeah, you're on the right path.
Yeah.
I remember that.
And so they get in a big old fight in the middle of Vietnam while the war is raging. Mm-hmm. It turns out a Dr. Deverick, who is the villain of the villain of the series, as much as you can have a human villain.
That sounds like Dr. Demonicus.
Kind of, yeah. He was developing for the same anti-kaiju team that Murakami works for. Mm-hmm. I'm trying to think of the right word for it. I don't want to call it a kaiju magnet, but it's basically, it's more like a dog whistle. Mm-hmm. Like it attracts the kaijus to want to come and smash it. So he had left a plane that he had been with one of those crashed in Vietnam because there was a war happening, so planes are getting shot down. And that brought Godzilla and Anguirus to fight there. The next one takes place in 75. And that is when all the kaiju come out to play. To destroy all monsters riff, mostly focused on Ghidorah, the big old smoke monster.
That sounds like Godzilla Final Wars.
Everyone's there. They're all beating the shit out of each other. The kaiju response team is now it's less of a attacking the kaiju and more of a how do we minimize damage team. Mm-hmm. That's also what I found really interesting about it is seeing how the group's focus changes and how they kind of just have to accept that Godzilla exists.
And this one is still Dark Horse, right?
This is a IDW production.
So how many comic companies does he jump through?
Godzilla was at Marvel, Dark Horse, IDW. He might have been in Topps somewhere along there because Topps is doing a ton of licensed books.
Topps did the
90s.
Barkley stuff, I think.
No, that was a Dark Horse one.
No, you're right.
It's
you're right.
In the Legend imprint. It's got the little stone man. 87 might be my favorite issue of it's a 5-issue series. Okay. Obviously, one for each decade. And in this one, Mechagodzilla has been created.
I love Mechagodzilla.
They're like, all right, if we can't stop him with weapons, if we can't minimize the damage and get people evacuated in time, we'll build our own Godzilla.
Yeah.
And everything's going good. Mechagodzilla he's holding his own, and Space Godzilla arrives. Because this is that second Toho era in the 80s.
Oh, God, yes.
And so you got him with his big old crystals, and he just obliterates Mechagodzilla and is beating the holy hell out of Godzilla. And I gotta show some art up here because the way James Stokoe, his art's so detailed. He has such a great take on Godzilla. And seeing Space Godzilla, who is one of my favorite kaiju, just because it's Godzilla with extra shit slapped on it. How cool is that?
I had an observation, and then this may be spoilery, so I'll just let you know if you're watching this and you haven't seen Godzilla vs. Kong, which is coming out in March. Mm-hmm. What I'm about to talk about is a little spoilery, so warning.
I think we can put it in the speculation folder.
Yeah, the speculation, but the heavy rumors of Mechagodzilla being in Kong Godzilla.
I'd be into it. I can dig it.
And they say that that's the reason why Godzilla is being
pissed.
so aggressive, is because he's not Godzilla.
Or he's aggressive because his good name is being dragged through the mud.
And he won't have it.
Exactly. And now he's got to.
This is slander.
The champ,
Lizard slander.
the champ of Skull Island himself.
Oh man. Okay, so we should probably also establish the fact that we are of separate teams.
I'm a big Kong guy.
I am, of course, with the lizard.
Yeah.
Kong's got longevity. He came out in the 30s.
He's got heart.
Godzilla shows up, the new flavor in 1959. I gotta go with the import.
Yeah.
I gotta go with the import.
Don't get me wrong. I love Godzilla. Obviously, I wouldn't be talking about a Godzilla story.
Yeah, we wouldn't have.
Yeah.
We're sitting here trying to figure out what we're gonna do with a show.
I wouldn't have pitched this episode if I didn't love Godzilla.
And Gideon goes, "What do we do Godzilla comics?" And we just lost our mind exchanging stuff about Godzilla. It's like, okay, this is apparently what we're gonna do.
When I got home from work today, I just reread Godzilla versus Barkley and Half Century War because I was like, I got to make sure.
I got a footnote for the Marvel thing I forgot to bring up. Godzilla shows up again, of course, now looking very different and not referred to as Godzilla. He's now in control of Dr. Demonicus, which is the villain from the first arc of Godzilla. And he's now called Leviathan. And he's out of control. And this seems strangely like a full circle, because way back when the first issues were happening, he ran into the Champions of Los Angeles. He almost kills Angel by stepping on him. Mm-hmm. He's only saved by Hercules. Now, with that thought, come full forward to it's like 2006, 2010, and Angel, now Archangel, fights Leviathan and kills him by flying through his head.
Huh.
As you see.
What book was that in?
Oh God, I think it was just a normal X-Men title.
Huh.
Yeah.
I had no idea. That's awesome.
I looked this up and I was like, how strange. So yeah, if you look up Marvel Godzilla, like in one of the numerous Marvel wikis, you'll see that he's been renamed and he's now quite dead.
But the way they tie in, going back to Half Century War, the way they tie in Space Godzilla is they reveal that Deverick has been building his kaiju attractor even more, and now it's reaching out into space. So you can guess who the final villain is.
Space Godzilla.
No. Ghidorah and
Ghidorah,
Gigan.
yes.
Ghidorah and Gigan as a tag team.
Oh my God.
And it's the violence is just incredible. The carnage that these two kings commit on warships, on Godzilla, and I don't want to spoil it, but
because when I was a kid, he was called King Ghidorah.
Yeah, I feel like I don't know when the pronunciation
I think it was
changed.
American.
Probably.
Yeah, because then they got switched back to the proper term.
Yeah, but Murakami has to team up with Godzilla. I won't spoil the how or the why, but it's amazing. It's one of those things that just make you go, hell yeah, when you read it. Just chef's kiss. It's a great book. And I forgot to mention one last note to sell you on this book if you're not already sold. It's my favorite image of the series. It's in the first issue. It's when Godzilla first makes his debut. And James Stokey writes out the screonk, the Godzilla screech, using the waveform of the screech. So he makes the speech bubble, all that screonk, and you can see it right there. It's
I guess my favorite image, the one I think is the iconic image of the Marvel one, is this big gatefold that happens right when Godzilla first faces off against Red Ronin. And it's done in 2-page format, obviously gatefold, but it's done from the perspective of the person on the ground. So you're looking up at just this massive 70s Godzilla and Red Ronin in the foreground. And it's like, this is surprisingly good for the time.
Now, Half Century War is a bit easier to get than the Marvel Godzilla series. I think the singles are kind of expensive, but don't worry about that. There's a paperback that came out that's still pretty readily available. There's a hardcover that's still readily available. Now, I say readily available. I believe it is currently back-ordered through Diamond because obviously there's a huge demand for Godzilla stuff right now. But like you can still find it on Amazon or if you find it in like a used bookstore or something. And of course, they're available digitally. I think it's like $10 on Comixology.
That would really be nice if Marvel could re-release Essentials Godzilla.
Yeah, but I guess you gotta wait for Disney to buy Toho for that.
It's well within their grasp.
Please don't do it, Toho. Don't sell.
I want Disney to buy Parker Brothers now, or Hasbro, because I want Rom back. Damn it! I want my Space Knight.
Think of the implications. Don't make them bigger.
I want all the things.
But however, Godzilla vs. Barkley, I do not believe is available anywhere, and your best bet is gonna be hitting up like your quarter bin. I don't think you find it in a quarter bin. That book is I think it's like a $10 book
at least.
So yeah, scout eBay, like not prohibitively expensive.
Hit up Mile High Comics, skip all that eBay stuff and go to the classic store.
Yeah, they can
the comic store.
They can endorse us, and then I'll tell people to go there.
Yes,
they can give us money.
Mile High, give us some of that tiny little.
Rob,
change.
censor out the name until they start giving us money. So yeah, I would have liked to do a King Kong episode too, but there's not that many Kong comics.
No.
And there's not a lot of great Kong comics like there are Godzilla ones.
Marvel and DC never touched Kong.
The best Kong book I can think of is Kong on the Planet of the Apes, which is a lot of fun.
That sounds fun.
I could probably do a whole episode on Planet of the Apes crossovers because Star Trek Planet of the Apes, the Primate Directive.
Oh my God.
There's Green Lantern Planet of the Apes, which absolutely slaps.
And I actually read that.
And of course, Kong on the Planet of the Apes, which the premise is the apes find Skull Island, and the gorillas take Kong's existence as proof that they are made in God's image. So they take Kong, like they do all the Kong beats you want, but in Planet of the Apes, so there's like a way more like religious symbolism heaped on Kong. It's a hoot. I've read a little bit of the, I think Legendary Comics put it out. Mm-hmm. There did some tie-ins to Kong Skull Island, including a comic that I bought solely for the cover because it's doing the Batman Year One with little baby Kong crying over his dead gorilla parents. I'm like, this is the darkest thing I've ever seen. Like, it's just a sad little monkey.
I'm so stoked for Godzilla vs. Kong.
Oh my God, same.
And I'm glad it's coming out soon. And I think we'll probably try to squeeze this episode like just before.
We're gonna, yeah. We've recorded this with enough go time that I think we can make it happen.
Yeah.
So, Casey, you have any final thoughts?
Final thoughts. I only read like a couple of issues of Godzilla back when I was a kid. I would find just random issues of storylines and not really understood what happened before or what after because I would just buy comics by the stack. And having an opportunity to actually run through the entire run of 24 issues in one day is exactly what I did. It was surprisingly fun.
Oh, yeah.
I did not realize the craziness of
that Godzilla book.
The series
is a perfect candidate for binge reading. Like,
yeah, absolutely.
It's just, especially the way each issue just goes one to the next, to the next, to the next. Like you said, it's a big arc. So really,
you're never going to get stopped by a gigantic wall of text. You're going to be able to go, oh, okay, he's wrecking stuff. Oh, okay, there goes that harbor.
You see a wall of text, and Godzilla's just going to knock that over.
Yeah, because Godzilla action eats pages, and when you're tearing through an old 70s comics, you don't have a lot of pages to work with. It's like, what, 16 pages maybe?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Say Stokey never runs into the problem of, in a half-century war, he never runs into the issue of having too much text on a page, because that man can cram action. He comes from that kind of George Perez school of drawing every piece of rubble, every piece of debris. Oh, and in a Godzilla book, there's going to be a lot of damage.
And you can always tell when Perez has been doing rubble. He's got a specific way he does rocks.
Yeah. The most perfectly formed rocks.
They're the perfect.
That's why he's a great...
they're all the same color, but you could definitely tell Perez was here.
Oh, yeah. A great Ben Grimm he draws.
He's such an icon. I really wish he was in better health.
Yeah, I wish too, man. But on that note, give us some money on Patreon.
We want to keep doing this.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, we're gonna do it anyway.
And you know what?
Still.
I understand you can't give out the money. We're all feeling those pressures. But give us a like. Give us a subscribe.
Tell us
to
you love us.
Give us some comments. Let us know.
Affirmation.
What's your favorite Godzilla comic? Because there's obviously a whole ton we didn't even cover. Like Rulers of the Earth is another excellent Godzilla comic that I highly recommend.
Yeah. Tell us what your thoughts on Godzilla movies. For me, on the Japanese ones, it was Final Wars.
Final Wars is pretty sick.
Because Final Wars is kind of like the Marvel Capcom 2 of the Toho eras. He even had Godzilla 1998 in there.
Yeah, he just gets wrecked and
he's like the shortest fight. Like Zilla.
Zilla. R.I.P.
Good times. Yeah, if you love the lizard like we do, let us know in the comments below. We're on all, of course, the lovely social medias out there that the kids are using these days. Except we're not really in Parlor, but we're not political. So I don't even know what we're gonna be talking about next time.
We'll see.